Hello and welcome to the Content Byte, a podcast for anyone who uses their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a journalist, copywriter and content producer and the founder of Rachel's List. I'm joined today by the lovely Lynne Testoni. Hi Lynne.
Hi again, Rach. Hello to all our lovely listeners. I'm Lynne Testoni and I'm a journalist and a content producer. And today's episode is all about finding great clients and writing a killer LOI, a letter of introduction.
It is. And we are so excited to have a great guest on today. Yes, Jennifer Goforth Gregory, a freelance content marketing specialist who has written a great book on the subject of content marketing, The Freelance Content Marketing Writer, which is a really fantastic guide to finding clients, making money and building a business if you're in that space. Jennifer's based in the lovely North Carolina in the US, so she has a great global perspective on content marketing, and we have made her get up at 8:30 in the morning to talk to us. And we're sitting here at 10:30.
Rach and I are both members of your fantastic group, Jennifer, and we're such big fans, so we're really excited to have you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. It's great to meet y'all, and y'all are great participants of the group, and it really takes everyone participating. The Facebook group has over 5,000 people, all at different levels. Like everyone has to have some experience to be a part of it. And we cover all different topics related. But I try to keep it really well moderated and kind, unlike some groups across the globe, and focused on content marketing.
It's one of the best groups I've found, really. Like you say, people are very nice there. And it's one of the best groups to ask about pay rates or get a kind of a guide on what to charge for something. I find that everyone is very giving with that information. It actually feels like quite a safe space to ask those questions. So you've done such a brilliant job of it. It's great.
Thank you. People are very supportive. It's not me. It's everyone that participates. I wanted it to be a supportive place, and it's one of my happiest things that that's worked the way it has.
Yeah.
And you sort of started the group as kind of an add-on when you wrote the book, didn't you? So take us through a little bit about how you got into content marketing, your career journey, and how you wrote the book.
I went into technical writing out of college, and I was terrible at it. Technical writing is very different than technology content marketing. I literally updated the same online help. This was 90s. Over and over for every 1040 IRS form, which is a U.S. tax form, for a year. That's all I did. And then I wrote about really boring networking things for networking people. I was terrible at it. And I spent most of my time trying to come up with other projects so people didn't realize I was terrible at technical writing. Yes. And so I came up with a training program for writers. I started a whole customer program where we did usability studies. I took on project management for user interface, so no one would realize I really sucked at technical writing. And you know what? Nobody did. That's kind of the funny thing. I think the key to success in most things is figuring out your strengths and not trying to overcome your weaknesses, but trying to mitigate them. So I'm a typo queen. So instead of trying to spend extra time figuring out my typos, I hire someone. That's not my superpower, and I'm never going to be great at it. So I might as well, hire somebody that is their superpower, give somebody else work. I make more money myself because I spend less time and can focus on the things that only I can do.
Yep.
So that's been one of my keys. I'll tell one of my other keys later. And so worked at IBM, had kids, took a 5-year maternity leave, and one of my kids was a preemie and had some learning disabilities, so wanted to be around, so started my own freelancing business. I started it in the middle of the 2008 recession, which was a great time to start. It's kind of funny. I was telling somebody recently, it took me 3 or 4 years to get going. It was really slow in the beginning. Like, oh, when did you start? And I was like 2008, and they're like, really, you don't see it? And I'm like, no. and literally, it was like 2 years ago that I realized that I thought I just sucked in the beginning.
It was you, but no.
I really thought it was me. And someone's like, No, it was the global economy, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
That's hilarious.
Okay. You're right. So kind of struggled for the first couple years trying to find my footing, did some worked at our local newspaper as a freelancer, learned a lot, got a lot better, found a great mentor there, did local stories, ended up about 2013 getting put on a Contently project. Nobody really knew what content marketing was around that time. It was just coming out. Got really lucky. Somebody, and this goes back to one of my big points, but I think relationships, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is a big key. Somebody knew the person that was hiring for this Contently project knew someone at the News and Observer newspaper where I worked, hired me with no content marketing experience. I got put on an American Express an open forum project, which really kind of put my career in action. Since then, mainly I do B2B technology writing and started a blog back in 2013 for the first 6 months. I think my mom read it and literally nobody read it. And then
I love your blog.
Your blog is amazing. We actually both discovered your blog through an Australian writer here called Lynne Alexander. Have you had contact with her?
Yes. Yeah. She's great. And she recommends you a few times, and then we've read it and we've recommended it to others. And we've mentioned your column, your Facebook group on the podcast a few times.
Oh, that's awesome. That's totally awesome. And so I started the blog, and then my friend Stephanie Voza, who is in the Facebook group, and she's one of my best writer friends, she made me write the book.
Did she?
This is Stephanie, who you mentioned in the book, who talks you off ledges all the time.
Oh, yes.
We all need a friend like Stephanie.
Yes. And it goes both ways, because I have called her stupid before. Because she would it's a very honest friendship. But yes, Stephanie was like, you have to write this book. I'm going to make you write this book. And she harassed me. And the book would not have happened without Stephanie or my husband, who was also like, you have most of the book on your hard drive in your blog posts. But it's a lot harder to turn a blog into a book than I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
It took a lot more work. I'm glad I didn't know that. But I was adamant that I was not going to write the book until Stephanie finally told me that my whole goal has always been to help people, and that by not having the book, I was being selfish and not helping people.
Really?
Everyone needs a friend like Stephanie.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book. It was a much more satisfying experience than I ever expected. I cried when I finished it, and I've been very pleased that it has helped people. That's been my whole goal. My goal was never to make money or fame or anything. I mean, not that you're going to get fame writing about content marketing writing, but it's always been to help people.
Oh, it's great.
You've definitely done that.
It's so practical. And as you say, I think you said before that it's quite personal. It's really about your story a bit, isn't it?
I think that we globally, especially in the Facebook era, tend to put our best foot forward and act like we're all wonderful. That's not helpful. And I think as writers, we don't talk about, I got fired from 3 projects last year, but I also made a lot of money and had some great clients that loved me. And we don't talk about that. And so when it happens to you and your piece gets torn up by an editor, when you get kicked off a project, you think it's you, but it's not. It's not that you suck. It's that you picked the wrong project. Yeah, it wasn't a good fit. It has nothing to do with you sucking or the client sucking. And so I try to be really honest, because everybody's had periods of no work. Everyone's had clients that don't like them. And when we don't talk about it, it makes you feel like you're the only one and you're alone.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. I think the longer you're in the business, the more you get to know that too. Rachel's been doing it for 20 years. I'm only for 4, so I'm a newbie really. But I do think, although being a journalist for all that time, I've had a lot of editors yell at me in that time. So I get it. You get a tough skin after a while. And but it is, sometimes it can feel quite isolating as a content marketer, because you work from home, don't you, in North Carolina?
Yes, and I feel the last thing I feel is isolated, because I have teenagers.
Yes.
Especially after everybody being home for months. The last thing I used to be home for 6-7 hours every day, which I loved to work. And now we have the opposite experience.
Yeah. You can't get away from anyone. We've had several like desks in this room. Actually, Lynn, I forgot to tell you that I bought a new desk, another desk. It was the desk that we had put in the bedroom so that I could escape into the bedroom to work, because I've got a 5-year-old, kept falling off the wall. So it's like propped up with all these books and boxes and things.
It fell off the wall memorably in the middle of a podcast recording.
It was. And I had to hold it on my knees while we finished the podcast. But yeah, you don't consider those things, do you? That a worldwide pandemic is going to force you to have makeshift studies all over the house to get away from your children.
Well, and for 10 years, we bought this house and I had to have a home office, and then I promptly worked at the kitchen table for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
7 days after our stay-at-home order, I might have screamed and yelled at my entire family as I moved into my home office for the first time in 10 years. And my husband's like, it only took a global pandemic for you to use the office that you had to have and we bought the house for.
That's brilliant.
Yes.
Well, at least it's getting some use now.
Exactly. And now and then of course I had to go spend money and redecorate it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
I wanted to ask you about letters of introduction. You talk about them a bit. So tell me how you think they work, or what's good about them, or not.
So a letter of introduction is a journalist people use send pitches, which is you're selling your idea.
Yeah.
A letter of introduction is something you send to someone, usually that you don't know, and you're selling yourself. So you're not pitching a specific idea, but you're trying to get them to hire you. Unlike a pitch, which is the whole date, right? The whole goal of a pitch is to give them everything they need to know to take to their editorial meeting.
Yeah.
So you're having what I call the whole date in the email. A letter of introduction is a pickup line. So a lot of people make the mistake of having the whole date in the letter of introduction, but you just want to start the conversation. I think the best way to get gigs with hands down is through relationships. Yeah. And those are relationships with other writers. I've gotten many clients through other writer friends, including my friend Stephanie. I've given many clients to other writers.
Hopefully including Stephanie.
Yes, including Stephanie. Yes, including Stephanie. And also with other editors. So, getting on other projects and agencies, or getting in other departments in a company, or even one of my current clients was given to me because another client in a different company passed me on. So it's through referrals is the best way. Yeah. In my opinion, that is by far the best way. And you really need to focus on that. However, I think there's 3 kind of prongs to marketing, in my opinion. One is relationships. One is cold calling, and by that I mean emails, letters of introduction. And the third is helping people find you. We talked about the relationships. The second is the letters of introduction. And you can't spend all your time just on relationships. There's a limited number of people you know. And so if you have downtime, a letter of introduction, they can be very effective. They're not as effective as the other, but it's part of your whole arsenal.
So it's like a starting point.
Yep, it's a starting point. And I've gotten a lot of work through cold letters of introduction, and so have other people. It's hard to do that as your only marketing technique, but I do think it's a key. If you have no work, it's a great thing to do. Or if you're getting low and have time, because you have time. A couple keys is you need to send out more than you think you do. People say, oh my gosh, I've sent out so many and I haven't heard anything. I'm like, well, how many is a lot? And they're like, 12. And I'm like, okay, so 12 is not a lot. I think 50 to 100.
It's a bit of a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. Because this is the thing. Your whole goal is, they probably don't have work right now, but the goal is to build a relationship so when they do have work, they think of you and you're already a known entity. So the goal of the letter of introduction is to move into the first category where you have a relationship. Yeah. So build the relationship. You typically don't usually send a letter of introduction and get an assignment. That's not usually how it works. So you need to follow up repeatedly. And I usually say follow up until they hire me or tell me to go away. And there's a fine line between stalking and following up. And this is the thing. So many people hesitate to follow up because they think they're bothering them, but they're not, because the content marketing managers have a job to do and you're helping them do that. So as long as you're polite and qualified, you're not harassing them. Yeah. You're helping them do something that they need to do their job. So that's kind of how I look at it. And then the third category is people finding you. So you need to have a good LinkedIn presence. You need to have a good website. And I know this is on the list to talk about, but you need to market yourself as a niche, because most people, in my opinion, will be looking for specific writers. Put those niches in there. And generalists can still be super successful, and I'll tell you how I think that can happen.
Well, just before we move on to niches, let's talk just a bit about the letter of introduction, because everybody always wants to know the structure of one and how you should write one, I suppose.
Yep.
And I know that you've done scripts before, but can you give us a basic script for the first one that you might send, and perhaps some of the follow-up scripts that you might use?
Yep, and if you go to my blog, I have it on there. A couple things, and I can, let's see how good I am if I can recite it, right? A couple things is you want to keep it short. I call my letter of introduction the 5-ish sentence. And yes, that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can't say it in 7 sentences, you shouldn't be saying it. They want to know if you have the experience, both writing and subject matter, to continue the conversation. And that's what you're doing, is giving them that.
Mm-hmm.
So normally, and this is off the cuff, a letter of introduction would be something like, hi, does Citibank use freelance writers? I am an experienced freelance writer and specialize in credit cards, credit scores, and investing. My past clients include Ameriprise, Fidelity, Allstate, State Farm Mutuals. Is there and then I would say something like, I look forward to hearing from you and hopefully working from you in the future. So it's very short. So I try to say, in my one for I'm not quite sure why I picked finance, because I usually do technology. So I would say, does Microsoft use freelance writers? I specialize in, and I list very specifically the niches. So for me, I would say Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and SaaS. My past clients include, and I list that. And I think listing the clients is super important, because if I say my past clients include IBM, Microsoft, Adobe, Hewlett-Packard, AT&T, Verizon, and whatnot, that says so much.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have those, it's okay, because you probably have some publications you worked with in the industry, and they don't have to be Microsoft. If you're in a specialized niche, whatever a good company is in there. So people say, can I get work without, the big brands? You haven't, absolutely, because you just want to show them that. So when I say that, it means I can write, I know my stuff, and people hire me.
Yeah.
You know how you mentioned those big brands? Mm-hmm. If you are getting those big brands via an agency, do you still think that you can mention them? Do you think it's a bit? Yeah.
No, not at all. Most of mine are through an agency.
Yeah,
almost
right.
all of them are
not
through
direct.
an agency. I don't think it matters.
Uh-huh.
At all. 0, because my stuff is still approved and published by IBM, Hewlett-Packard, whatnot.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm claiming, is when I say I've worked for them, I'm claiming that IBM published their stuff on their site, that IBM thinks I know my stuff and can write. That Microsoft doesn't, and so it doesn't matter, in my opinion, if it's through an agency at all.
I sometimes wonder if that's a bit of a grey area, because sometimes in those cases you don't have any direct contact with the client. It's all, you're in the middle, and the agency kind of does all the legwork with the client. You never actually talk to the client. But then
they approve your stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
They put their brand name on your stuff. And you could even say my work has been published on IBM, Microsoft, if you feel more comfortable with that language.
Yeah.
But you have worked for them, even if it's not directly. They approve your stuff. They put their brand logo on your stuff. To me, it's really not a gray area, but I also feel that everyone should do what's comfortable to them and feels legit to them.
I suppose that also feeds into the whole thing of, can you use, would you put those brands' logos on your website? If
I do.
Okay, so even if it went through an agency, because I always wonder if
I really see no difference.
Yeah.
And I know other people do. I see 0 difference. And I have asked other clients about that, and they don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm said, does it matter to you? And they're like, no, it doesn't.
Well, that's really good to know.
Hewlett-Packard, because what you're saying is that you can write about their stuff knowledgeably, that their SMEs approved it, that you can write in their tone. That's what you're saying.
Mm.
So, I mean, I've seen some people qualify by, say, some direct through an agency. I have had a lot of conversations with content marketing managers, and nobody really cares.
Nobody really cares. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
No. I think us as journalists care about some of the stuff more than they do. I know that's the case with clients, with people being worried about doing journalism and content marketing.
Yeah. We'll see, both of us come from that journalism side of things.
Yes.
So we check everything.
Journalists tend to worry a little more about
overthink.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Did I jump in then when you were finishing your answer?
Oh, no, that's okay. I was going to ask about the niches because I thought, what do you call, you don't call niche, what did you call it? Niche.
You know what? Everybody, it's the niche or the tomato, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I call it a niche, but I am in the South, so who knows? Some people call it the other. It's the same thing. So
I sort of have a niche, and it's certainly bringing me a lot more work. And I find, because people start to see that I'm a bit of an expert in it. And as I was saying to Rachel before we got on this call, because of that, it feeds into itself. The more I do, the more people hear about me, and then they come to me a lot more. Is that part of your thinking?
Absolutely. And Ed Gandia, whose podcast I also recommend, he says you want to be known as, I know a guy who does that. Because if you do a niche, then people get to think of you as the person that does a certain thing. And I see that with my writer friends too. My friends, because they know I do tech, if they can't understand like a job ad, there's words they don't understand, they just send it to me because they think that I'll probably know what they mean. So one of the biggest differences between content marketing and journalism is that with journalism, you always have sources. So you're just the reporter. With content marketing, a lot of times the brand wants to be the expert. So you have to talk from a place of authority. So as Lynne, you were talking about with your niche, I'm assuming that sometimes you put in things that you know that you're talking to SMEs that you just kind of synthesize. And so you're able to use your knowledge. You're not just reporting, but you're actually adding to the piece with what you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's one of the benefits. And so people with most niches, especially when you're talking about B2B, which is where the money is, in my opinion. If you're talking to business people in a subject, you need some experience in it.
Oh, okay.
So in order to get work, I don't think you have to specialize. I think you can be a generalist and make a lot of money. I know a lot of people that do. However, I think you have to, most generalists I know have areas of specialty, even if they don't have niches, but you might. So, you know, I have friends that call themselves a generalist, but she writes a lot about dogs and about farming, and then some about business and some about aging. So those are kind of her specialties. So when she sends out an LOI, she would, if it's to a farming company, she would make it look like she was a farming expert, but she is. It's one of her issues, but that's all she is. So it's kind of how you present and package yourself. So you can have as many niches as you want. You just need to present yourself as an expert in the company's topic that you're approaching.
That's so interesting, because I typically think of myself as a generalist. Coming from the journalism side of things, I feel like I've been a generalist for years and years. But reading your book made me realize, actually, I have lots of, niches, and it made so much sense to me what you were saying about how when you're in that content marketing space, clients very much want to know that you're this subject matter expert. And I sometimes have agencies come to me and say, look, the client really wants someone who knows insurance or who can write about tax. And I do a lot of finance writing now, which is bizarre to me considering I used to write about movies. I feel very strange saying I'm an expert in those areas because I'm not an expert at all, but I write a lot about that stuff. So
you are an expert. So can you talk to an insurance expert and ask intelligent questions, understand what they say, and then turn it into something that other people can understand?
Yes, absolutely.
And someone that had no insurance experience would have a hard time with that. They don't know the terms. They don't know the concepts. They don't know the challenges. And so because you're able to do that, you are an expert in it. And now that doesn't mean you're going to go write an insurance book or sell insurance. I think sometimes as writers, we put the bar too high to call ourselves an expert or in a subject.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you have to know everything. I don't know everything about technology. I don't code. I don't know all that, but I know enough that I can talk to the smart people that know all that, get the information when someone else that doesn't have the background couldn't do that, and then turn it into something that other people can understand, which someone without my background couldn't do.
Yeah. So it's an experience in the subject matter, and it's about asking the right questions and finding the right people as well, even if you get quotes, because I certainly think that neither Rachel and I would get taken in by sort of, I guess, faux experts. Like mine is more in the architectural building space, but certainly I know the difference between all the different people and the players in that business, even though I'm not obviously an architect. Yeah,
it definitely made me feel better, I think, about, like you just said, packaging yourself and how you package yourself in an LOI or in a relationship building exercise with a prospect or a potential client. Yeah.
I think the niche is even more important when you're trying to get work with agencies. I've helped agencies hire before, and agencies' reputation is staked on when they show a client a writer, and they're not going to put you up if you don't have clips.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that, and you're not going to get work with agencies without packaging yourself that way. Of course, I never say never or not, but it's really hard. Agencies want experts in a topic.
Because they want to present you to the clients. It's all about how you make them look. I see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So journalism, the publishers wait for us to come to them, right, with pitches for the most part. But with content marketing writing, a lot of times they'll come looking for writers. And so by having 10 niches, if you put them on your LinkedIn profile on your website, then the people are going to find you. So you need to be able to be found, and they're not searching on LinkedIn for great writer, they're searching for insurance writer. So that's how they're going to find you. So I really recommend listing all of your niches on your LinkedIn profile as well and being really granular. So, for insurance, for you, I might put life insurance, car insurance, that type of thing. That's a little redundant, but you know what I mean? So for mine, I put cybersecurity, I put artificial intelligence, and that's changed over the years depending on what I write on.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's great. What sort of trends do you think you've been seeing in content marketing? Are there things that you're seeing? Well, I don't know. At the moment, everything's crazy.
I was about to say, I would have answered this question so different in January.
Yes.
I would now.
Oh my God, that was a lifetime ago, wasn't it?
Think about where you were on New Year's Eve. That feels like 20 years ago.
It does, yes. I
don't know if you know this. I do dog rescue. I run a dachshund rescue. Yeah. And we were talking about that.
We were talking about that actually. We were like, we were trying to pronounce
about
it.
Jennifer.
We thought they're the sausage dogs, aren't they?
Yes, they're wiener dogs. But in January, we rescued a dog that had a bunch of broken legs, and that literally feels like 10 years ago. But yes, so one of the reasons is that I freelance is so I can have the flexibility, and that's changed over the years. It used to be more for the kids, and now it's to do the things that my kids are about to graduate, and one just did, and now it's to do the things that are important for me, which is travel, which is be there when my teenagers, young adults need me, which, they give you 4 seconds notice when they do, and you need to jump, and do my dog rescue work. So I think that freelancing gives you flexibility and income as well. And people often, overlook that you have in a regular job, you're only going to earn so much. But my husband's work situation is changing. So I probably will need to want to earn a little bit more. And in a real job, I just means I work more, I market more, I do that. But in a real job, I can't go to my boss and be like, can I work more and make my money? That's not how it works. So people forget that flexibility. I totally went off your trends question. The trend. So here is the trend. The trend for companies is to stay in business and figure out what the hell is going on. That's the trend.
Yes, well, that's true. And that's why content marketing is quite good. We're both quite a few people in your Facebook group, I noticed, have picked up a lot of work helping their clients communicate outside. So it actually has been an interesting opportunity for a lot of people in content marketing, because
it's been very feast or famine we've seen in Australia.
Some people have got so much work and other people have got hardly any or none.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the niches, because I mean, total
being
industries,
in travel.
Being in travel, we're decimated. If you had tech changed overnight and became the backbone of our society even more, and I didn't think that was possible. But it did. And what I write about is the cloud computing, the stuff that makes everybody be able to get on Zoom and the companies be able to operate, and they kicked into gear to change their messaging. So I had my March and April were the busiest months I've ever had in however many years. I literally worked for 53 straight days because I didn't know what was, and I was also doing a class for Carol Tice at the time, but I didn't know what was coming in May or June, and I felt really strongly that I needed to take advantage of anything I possibly could at the time. And it has slowed down in May and June, but because right now what I see from talking to people, I see two things. So it seems like the clients are assigning much shorter windows because nobody knows what's happening and what's the right message. So it feels like when I started June, I had no work, and now I'm going to hit my goal for June, not my stretch goal, but my solid goal most likely. But it's come week by week, much more than normal.
Yeah, I'm having the same thing. Normally I'd have a good long-term plan of what's happening. At the moment it is a bit week by week, and everyone I think is making up their communication messages as they go, because it's changing all the time.
And I think it makes sense. So I've had to kind of learn to trust in the relationships that I've built, and I've been marketing more because one of the things I've seen is a couple of my clients have paused, some have ramped up, and I did a blog post called Cast a Wide Net, because it's very uneven, and it's even not totally across all industries. Different companies have different strategies. So I think every writer's goal right now should be to have as many feelers as possibly out there. And this is where LOIs, in my opinion, aren't working as good as they normally do right now, because things are uncertain. They want to go with people that they know. So I see relationships working a lot better. However, if someone does not have work, I highly do recommend doing LOIs in addition, because at some point things will change, and if you have the time now to get the feelers out there and start building the relationships, then the work will follow. The work will follow. So I think LOIs are even more a long-term game right now, but I really think now is the time to check in with every person you've ever known, to stay in touch with them. I've stayed in closer touch because what I found even more is people are going through their own personal things and don't always have time to think about the best person for a job or whatever. You got to be in the top of their mind. And I've been checking in with not just, hey, do I have work? But one of my editors is getting married in the middle of this. So I've stayed in touch with her. She's turned into a friend, but it's a way to keep in touch. It doesn't always have to be about work. It goes into the building the relationships.
That's just so important. I think was I reading in your book that you were going to start focusing a bit on upskilling in video? Did I get that right?
Do you mean doing video training or writing in video?
I guess writing, like, as where obviously words are our thing as storytellers and content marketers, but we did a podcast recently with the head of content at a news organisation here in Sydney, and she was talking about how she wishes that journalists could move and content writers could move into video more easily because that's where it's all going. I mean, what do you think
agree
about
with that?
trend?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I have done some of that. I've done several video scripts. I did one for T-Mobile and Explainer. I've done several for the T brand, which is the New York Times brand content marketing arm. And I definitely think it's a good skill. This is a great segue into the ASJA conference. We're doing it's the American Society of journalists, but that we have people from all over the globe, and I wish there would be more. We now have a virtual conference, and so this is a great time, and they're going to be recorded, so you don't have to get up in the middle of the night. If you want to, it's even better because there's chats going on. You can be a part of the Q&A. But so we have a content marketing track, and it's very reasonable. We have right now 13 sessions, only 11 on the website. I've got 2 more to put. 13 sessions. I'm hoping to get up to 16 for $90.
Yeah,
Amazing.
oh, that's fantastic.
Who were some of the speakers this year?
So we have Claire McDermott. She's the former editor of the Chief Content Officer magazine with Content Marketing Institute. We have Ed Gandia, who does a great podcast.
We're both fans of Ed's.
Yes,
love
I have Melanie, who wrote Story Fuel. I cannot pronounce her last name, so I don't want to mess it up. She's going to be presenting on different ideas. We actually have an Australian writer who's going to be writing about or talking about moving from journalist to content marketing. I also have Anne Glenn's going to be talking about finding sources. She writes a lot for Content Marketing Institute, finding sources, because that's a big struggle for people. We have one about moving from full-time to freelance, and then one from moving freelance to full-time. Vox Media is going to be doing one. Daniel Littlewood is going to be doing one on writing video scripts. So because I think he does explainer videos for Vox Media, and he's fabulous at writing them. So he's going to talk about how to do video scripts.
Oh, sounds fantastic. And
I'm definitely getting a ticket.
What I learned from getting fired. So it's 3 writers talking about when they got fired and what they learned, which is all about picking the right clients. We have another one, Hawaii writer, Leslie's talking about how I went from 0 to 8,000, where she literally had no work and kicked her marketing into gear and got $8,000. In there, we have Ask the Editor, and then we're still working on getting those. And then we also have one on writing during times of change. So that's one of my editors who works for AP Content. He's going to be on that one. I worked on a big project for CBS. And when I started the project, I had no idea a global pandemic was starting and that we'd be really writing much more meaningful things than we ever expected. So he's going to be talking about that.
Yeah, fantastic.
So much valuable info
and maybe
there.
Having it all online gives a lot of our listeners a better chance to access it.
That's what I'm loving. I'm loving all the virtual conferences, all the stuff that we could never go to that are happening. Right. Happens in America or in other countries, we can suddenly attend all of them. You should.
And I think that will stay. I think, I've thought a lot about what I think are the lasting things from the pandemic, and especially as a freelancer, and I think that's one of them. The other thing, and I don't know if this has happened in Australia, it has in America, working at home has really worked. Yes. And I think a lot of people are going to continue. And I think as freelancers, that's going to open us up even more, because I think we'll be able to take on, I think that as a freelancers, more freelancers will be able to go into strategy, because that has previously been felt that you need to be on site to do that. But I think as work at home stays more common and accepted, that freelancers' opportunities are going to open up.
So if you were to, say to a journalist or someone who is moving into content marketing, what are the skills that you really need in that space right now?
That you don't have in journalism?
Yeah, I know. I mean, you take there's a lot of transferable skills that you can bring over. But are there any skills that you should look at?
Upskilling, training?
So it's not something you can take a class in or whatnot. When you write an article for a journalism publication, you write in your own voice, or you write in a neutral voice. But the biggest challenge I see from people transitioning is writing in the brand voice. So a lot of journalists write something for a content marketing client, and they get it marked all up, and they're like, well, I write for whatever, I'm a great writer, why is this person who doesn't know anything doing this? And I really think journalists need to step back, because it's not saying you're not a great writer. It comes down to what's called tone, which is it's word choice, it's sentence choice, it's sentence structure, it's sentence length. It's the brand voice, and everything in content marketing has to be written like it comes from the company. So it can't be in your voice. And I think that's the hardest thing to learn for journalists. If a client ever says, I don't like this, what they're saying, and they don't know how to say this, is you got the tone wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
As writers, we take it personally and we think we suck, or the client doesn't know what they're talking about. It depends on your mood. I can go either way, right? Sometimes I take it as I suck or they suck. But really, you have to step back, and what they're saying is you got the tone wrong. And so I think that's the biggest challenge, and why a lot of journalists struggle is because they don't approach each piece as what tone do I need to write this in, because they're a great writer, which they are.
But it's not about that. It's about the
not
tone.
about that. It's about the tone. And I have really worked hard to get different tones. And one time when I was bored, I even wrote the same piece in 3 different tones just as practice. And that's what I do. I have 3 tones that I write in that I can change based on the client. And I call it used to be called millennial when that was kind of the thing. I used to call it snappy, snarky millennial. And then I have one that's professionally conversational, and then one that's more formal.
I love it.
And so I do have a deep yearning to be snappy. Was it snappy, smug into a millennial? Yeah, I wanted to.
I think that ship has sailed for me.
yes. And it's something that I consciously worked on, because I did not have that skill. I consciously, and it was actually a client, that might rhyme with Verizon, that they changed their tone in the middle of the project multiple times.
No.
So I had to write the paper 3 different ways as they changed the tone, and I actually figured it out, if that makes any sense. Like, I figured out tone during that exercise. And how do you change it? And I personally think if you screw up the tone, you have to kind of rewrite it. It doesn't work for me to lay the tone back in.
It's so interesting that you mentioned that about tone, because we did a masterclass at Rachel's List with Rob Johnson, who's an editor here at Engaged Media in Sydney. He puts it in a slightly different way. He said that basically journalists find it very difficult to kill their darlings, you know? The way that they write, and they may be known for that.
Their
like
phrasing.
You know, you have to not be precious and basically,
I do think that that's another thing that journalists struggle with, is because, you're going to get all these people with all these opinions. So I feel my job as a content marketing writer, so as a journalist, my job was to write the piece. Start to finish. So as a content marketing, my writer is to write the first draft and then make the changes that everybody else wants. And at that point, it's not my piece. So I let it go once I send in the first draft. They own it. The client owns it. It is theirs. The only thing, of course, if I want accuracy, of course. And if my byline's on it, if anything unethical is put in, then I will stand up. But as far as other things, anything other than those 2 pretty major issues, it's theirs.
Yeah. I think as well, as a journalist, if you've got hundreds and hundreds of bylines, it's much more easier to move into content marketing, because you don't care so much about bylines. And a lot of the stuff that I do is ghostwriting, and they might even slap a product manager's name on it. And I don't really care anymore, because I've had I've got so many, it doesn't matter to me. But I think if you're starting out as a junior journalist in content marketing, it can be really difficult.
Well, and I think that's a different perspective, because a couple things there is, I don't care whose name's on it as long as my name's on the check. And, I didn't come up with that. I can't even remember who I stole that from. So whatever freelancer said that, I apologize. But the other thing is, people think that if your byline's not on it, it means you can't put it on your portfolio or share it. And that's not true, in my opinion. So if it has no byline, you can totally put it on your site, in my opinion, as long as you don't have an NDA. If it has someone else's, so for ghostwriting, in my perspective, there's 2 different types of ghostwriting. One's what I call real ghostwriting, and one's what I call slap a byline ghostwriting. And so the real ghostwriting is in a trade publication, and I interview the person who has the byline. I get their voice. I work to get their voice. That's real ghostwriting. So those I'm never going to be able to share, and I wouldn't want to, because I'm actually ghostwriting.
Yeah.
So on my website, I have a number of posts from on a Microsoft project and on an Experian project, and those are slap a byline, and nobody cares if I put it up there because it's not the guy's piece. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So if it has someone else's byline on it, I always get permission, and I only ask if it's slap a byline, and nobody's ever questioned. I have many unbylined things on my page, and nobody has ever questioned it.
Yeah, that's true. The sharing, that is something to consider, isn't it? If you don't have other bylined work and you want to share those pieces, sometimes the agency or the client will just say, no, we'd rather you didn't. And then
most will give you permission to put it in privately in email. Even if they say I didn't say that, And I there's a difference in sharing it privately in email versus publicly. And if you have an NDA, you should never do that, of course, because that's legally binding. But I think there's a little more leeway than people think, especially if you go have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I agree. Often I've mentioned who I've written for, even if in a conversation when I'm pitching for work or they're asking, what sort of work I've done, I think it's quite okay to say who I've written for.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not necessarily always out there, but it's certainly in a conversation, it's quite fine.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting to the end of the show, Rachel. I think we're going to get over time. And we could talk to Jennifer all day.
I talk too much. I'm so sorry.
We
love it.
It's
you all fascinating. Day. We could. It's great. We're really enjoying it.
Yeah. It's different to get your perspective compared to, what's happening in Sydney. You've frozen again.
No, she's
back.
Still there. You're back.
Okay.
The things about Zoom across the world. Yes.
And I have several teenagers who may have woken up and are playing video games already online with their friends. So I'm assuming my internet issues are due to the other people at my house.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good time. It's a good time to finish then.
So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's so lovely to meet you via Zoom. And we will definitely have you over for a cocktail when you're in Australia next.
I will take you up on that because at some point our borders will open and we can leave the country, right?
Yes. Yeah. We live in hope.
2 or 3 years.
Well, Rachel, that brings us to the end of the show this week. But thank you to everyone who's been listening and sharing us on social media. So if you like the show and loved hearing us talk to Jennifer, please don't forget to leave a rating and review on iTunes or Stitcher. And so, Rachel.
Yes, don't forget as well to head over to rachelslist.com.au/blog, where we'll have the show notes for the episode and we'll have more details about where to read Jennifer's blog, how to get into her fantastic Facebook group, and how to get your hands on her book, which is really great if you're moving into content marketing and want a really fantastic overview.
We might even mention Ed Gandia's podcast as well. She talked about him a few times. And I know Jennifer actually spoke on one of Ed's blogs.
I think she did.
Podcast. So we might find that
We'll put that in the show notes as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks again, everybody. See you next week. Bye.